right, it is Monday night, and we are live on here with Hell of a Show. I am looking forward to this show in a big way, and y'all are going to find out why here shortly. Before we get started, though, let me know if you can see and hear me in the comments, so I make sure I'm not just talking to myself, because I do enough of that during the day. I don't want to keep doing that throughout the evening. There's therapy for that out there somewhere, so I keep being told by someone in my head. Anyway, let me know if you can see and hear me out there. Let's get those shares going, and we're going to get ready to get this show going here very shortly. We've got an interesting show going on here tonight. Yes, it's Demon Phil. Woohoo! Who's Demon Phil? Oh, yeah, that's the guy up here. Excellent. So y'all can see and hear me. Perfect. Make sure we get those shares out there, and we can go ahead and get everything going. Hope y'all have had a great weekend. The rest of the week, last week and everything, been productive in there, getting a lot of things done. I apologize for not being as visible for the last part of the week. I got hit hard with something virus-wise or something like that. It knocked me down for quite a few days. So I am back now. I'm not at full strength, but I'm at least enough up here to be on this. And I'm not wearing a mask while I'm on here doing this. Sorry. So y'all just going to have to worry about that one. If you get a computer virus, it's not for me. But we're going to have some fun with this tonight. We got some great guests on here, and we're going to have a panel show a little bit different than we had before. A few more guests on here, and really get some interesting things going. So let me go ahead and start bringing some people up here. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and bring up Aaron Jordan is here. Let me bring him up on the screen. What's going on, Aaron?
Yo, what's going on, Phil? How you been?
Show? Man, I'm doing great. I appreciate you getting on the show and everything. Let me bring up the others on here real quick, and then we'll go through the list on who all's got what going on. Let's bring up Timothy B. Fling is on here. Let's bring him on. What's going on, Tim?
Good to see you, buddy. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Hey, I certainly appreciate you being on here, and yes, it is. And we've got Shaun Barbour here, and let me go ahead and say real quick, Shaun is here, and we are not doing anything hot tonight. The most hot, heat you're going to see from him being on here is the flames behind. They were put up there on purpose.
What's going on, guys?
How's
it going?
Yo,
man, we got a great panel on here tonight, and we've got quite a bit to delve into and get into all this. Before we get started on this, I'm going to kind of go round robin on this. We're going to start with Aaron to Timothy to Shaun. Go ahead and let us know who you are, what you do, where to find you.
Okay. Well, my name's Aaron Jordan. I am a comic book writer. I usually write stuff from suspense to, cinematics and stuff like that. And you can find me on Twitter. That's where I mainly go.
Nice. And Timothy, what about you?
I'm Timothy Fling. I'm a writer from York, Pennsylvania, primarily a science fiction series, and I'm also a small publisher. I publish my own series of comics and graphic novels. And I'm also just got to be pals with Shaun Barbour. I can't wait to talk to him.
All right. My name's Shaun. I'm from Instinct Comics, and I create comic books. I'm also an inker. And you can find me on all of the socials pretty much. Twitter and TikTok as Instinct. Facebook as myself right there. And other than that, just having a good time.
There you go. Can't go wrong with that right there. And a lot of people, if you're going to be watching this thing, whether you're watching live right now, or you're going to be watching later on, we're going to be delving into a lot of topics still, going around their projects, yes, but we're going to be talking about the process of these projects, not just the fact that they're there and, bye. We're not doing that right now. I do want to go ahead and put something out there real quick, though. Congratulations are in order, because just prior to the show, found out that Shaun's campaign right now, I Drive for Cerber, is funded, which means I will be getting my books, which I am excited about.
Absolutely. I was so worried. It was weird. I had no movement all day, and then boom, like $500. Just what?
Nice.
Just goes to show everything is unpredictable when it comes to these things.
Exactly. Now, one really cool thing about having all of y'all on here, I like to have my guests to have something that's in common on here. And I'll be very honest that tonight's show was actually, Shaun was locked in first. And then I went ahead and got Aaron on here because he came from the Twitter side over there. I asked him if he would join in the panel. Timothy, I missed your pre-recorded that we were going to do last week because I was sick. And so I offered for you being up here. And it works out perfectly, y'all all being up here, because you all have something in common. Y'all are all dealing with something in the paranormal side of things, whether it be now or later, because Timothy, you're working on something new that'll be coming up that I am very interested in seeing. Aaron,
Correct.
you've got Bane up there that is a very different werewolf comic. We're definitely going to be talking about that. And then I Drive for Cerber. I don't even know where to start on that one. That is just, it is out of the ballpark, something that I would have never even thought of on my own. I don't know how demented you have to be to think of something like this, or demented to read it, but demented is the word. That's hashtag demented right there. You should use that one too. It needs to be done. It has to. But y'all have got some awesome stuff that's going on. And we're going to kind of start this off with, how did you first find yourself in the indies, side of things and working on the comics and everything? Aaron, we'll start with you on that question. How did you first find yourself in the indies working on your books?
This is actually a pretty funny story. So there's this guy on Facebook, and this is back when I was in college, wanting to learn how to draw. He's pretty much said, hey, I'm starting this comic book universe that I've always had my dream on. I need writers. And it just so happens writing was my favorite thing to do. So long story short, I get the contact in him, and sooner or later things fall through. And that's when I figured, I can just do this by myself. And it's been a journey ever since.
There you go. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, sometimes you have to take a leap, in order to see where you're going to land. Sometimes you land on your face, but you always get to pick yourself back up and, try something else out different.
Exactly.
Tim, what about you? How did you start off into what you're doing? Because you've been going at this for a while with the, pretty good little world that you're creating over there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It happened to me sort of accidentally. I love to joke about this. I was a short story writer for many years. And as I'm proud to state, I never had any success as a short story writer. Of course, that's a different path, right? You submit to magazines and you try to get into anthologies and things like that. And a friend had said to me, by the way, I had always loved comics. It's one of my absolute favorite things. And I'm also a comic book collector. And one of my friends had said to me, hey, you ought to think about having some of these stories illustrated. And we started the first one back in, I guess that was 2016 now. And that was a robot comedy called Socket. And we did 3 issues of that book. And it wasn't my most successful book, but it was what taught me the craft of how to make comics. And that was with a publisher. That was a group called CAE. It's Martin Dunn, if you guys know Martin Dunn. Mm-hmm. And super nice guy and great people over there. But I got to the second one and I started to go, you know what? I am learning how to do this myself. And in those days, I hadn't heard of Kickstarter yet. And we started to say things like, hey, well, what if we started to try and get the best artists in the world, and we tried to get the best stories and the best letterer, and to make a professional product that would rival or exceed what you would see from, say, Image or DC Comics. And that was the first issue of Water Wars 2288. And of course, it was very well received right away. I'm very lucky in that regard. Thank you, indie community, for your support. And so we're up to, I think, 5 issues of that, or I guess it's 6 now, I guess. And then in the meanwhile, I had discovered Kickstarter, and I would think most people probably know me now as a Kickstarter creator. I've had 6 in a row that were successful. So, and I'm not one of the big guys. Please don't hear that I'm some kingpin. I'm one of the little guys. I'm just trying to get up to that Shaun Barbour level.
What?
But yeah, that's so I became a Kickstarter creator, and what happens in my case, everybody's a little different. But when your project funds, I don't keep any of the money from the funds. Every dime goes right back into the next product, and all my people get paid up front. I don't say, hey, you wait till the Kickstarter funds or anything like that. So if anything extra is left over, what you see is we try to launch another title. And then it was last year, we did this thing, we call it doubling down. Every time we had a successful one, we would launch another title. And we've had a little bit of success doing it that way.
Nice. That's an interesting way of doing it too, because you want to make sure and see exactly how well it's taken, to see if you can actually get traction from one title into another, and see how well you can keep up with it too. Because
right. And thanks for saying that, because not all of mine have been, I've never missed funding on a Kickstarter, but like my first title, speaking directly, I had very talented people that I was working with, and it wasn't that successful. So that was a learning experience and a humbling experience. And, we're going to come up to that, I think, later in the show, but I'm going to be trying something new here for my next one.
Oh yes, definitely. Oh, we're definitely talking about that. That's a have to on that one. Now, Shaun, coming along with yours and everything, I remember getting a message from you, and it was an odd message because you're so outgoing and outspoken and just, positive energy and all this stuff and everything. And you were almost like terrified going, I'm doing something new. I need you to look at it. And I was like, oh, wow, you're actually kind of, scared of this. How did it feel to actually do something where you went completely out of your wheelhouse and said, I'm going to go ahead and dive directly into this one and see how it goes?
This is pretty much like a transitionary phase for me from doing just like the creation and oversight to shaking off the dust, so to speak, and get my hands back into writing like I used to, and on my way to doing a solely written project. So this was a lot of fun, and the support that came with this, there was a community that was already attached. So I felt it was kind of like a safe step forward.
And it definitely has a feel of, you can tell where you were pushing it out there and everything, but I can tell where it's like you've got a little bit more you could pop into there and just really push it over the finish line. And you kind of held back because you were trying to play it safe on this one. Are you seeing where playing it safe on this one was a good thing, or was it something where you should have gone double down and just let's go all in on this and see what happens?
I think playing it safe this time allowed me to kind of evaluate a different approach, because I didn't have the same like team push as I did with, like, say, Belial. Having Chuck, who's already Chuck Pinot, who's already like a powerhouse when it comes to social media presence. Having that kind of off to the side and being more or less able to develop the awareness for this project more or less on my own with its own community. I think it helped a lot because I got an early start on trying to push it and seeing what worked and what didn't work. And it showed me where to lean in, because this is almost a new audience. So.
And that is very cool that you say that and everything, and you're dealing with all that. I'm about to do something a little bit different on the show. We're going to see if this works. If it doesn't, nobody hold me to this and think any different of me or any less or anything. But I want to try something where instead of having the overlays up here and it covers people up, we're actually going to be able to see everybody on here, so we can see our reactions on this and be able to see some things that were showing up here. You mentioned earlier about, this is a fun project for you.
Yeah.
And I've already said, this is one of those projects that you can't really talk about it. Like, it speaks for itself. I don't even know how to explain it. It's one of those things that I can't sit over here going, well, it has this element or this element. It's like, as soon as you go through the campaign, as soon as you watch, especially your videos, and we're about to watch one of those, it really has that certain feel to it. When we're done with this, I want to delve into another question on there, but I want to go ahead and let everybody know what we're dealing with on here as far as, what is offered on this campaign. So we're going to start off with I Drive for Cerber by Instinct, which Instinct is how you put that? Instinct?
Instinct. Because INKED, because I started out with that inker status.
There you go. I'm making sure, because I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly, because, pronunciation is all of it. But let me go ahead and set this up right now. We're going to go ahead and add this to stream. Let me know what y'all think on this one.
So you've seen the ads and still want to be able to say, I drive for Cerber? Well, you've come to the right place. Inside these pages, you'll read about Jim, Cerber's most reputable driver. He's a person just like you or me who puts his pants on one leg at a time, but who answered when opportunity called. Within these pages lies the roadmap to success. So buckle up, check your blind spots, and scream at the top of your lungs, I drive for Cerber. Cerber will get you, no matter where you are.
Okay, I got to say, first and foremost, I've seen a lot of videos on a lot of campaigns, a lot of things that are going on, and it's always about you want to stay under 2 minutes, to keep their attention, this, that, and the other. You're able to pop something out there that's less than a minute, and it gets the attention out there and gives it a nostalgic feel right off the bat. How did you come up with the idea on this? And then the second thing I got to ask is, where did you come up with the slogan? We'll get you wherever you are. That is so perfect for this setup here. It's so ominous, but yet so fun, and funny at the same time. It has a dual meaning to it.
Yeah, no. So which aspect, as far as like the comic itself first, or what were you looking for?
For the video to go ahead and show off for that, to have that much energy in a shorter video to go ahead and show for that.
Oh, you know what? I mean, that can probably be directly affected by TikTok and everything else that's out there. So my kids, everybody has such a short attention span. I wanted something quick and engaging. I didn't clutter the pages with all the artwork all the time, so it gave you somewhere for your eyes to chase. So that way I'm kind of trying to drag you in a little bit with that. And I actually created a series of commercials and ads. So I was trying to present it in the other formats as if it was like a real business. And so I did some research, looked at Lyft ads, Uber ads, different things like that. And I tried to structuralize them like that. And so, of course, they had a catchy little slogan. It has to be something that fits on a billboard. So, of course, Cerber will get you no matter where you are. To me, it sounded like it could be presented as positive, but at that same time, there's something wrong just beneath the surface.
But the really messed up thing is, you watch the video, whenever you hear the voiceover behind it and everything, it almost seems like something that at 2:00 in the morning would be on there on TV, that you'd be able to watch and going, I need to go ahead and check this out and see if they got a job opening.
That's what I was hoping for, man. Like, seriously, that's why I came up with say the ads and stuff, which you can see.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
cool. I
did a bunch of them, and this is directly off of like the style that Uber did for a lot of their ads and Lyft did for their ads.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say right now, and we're not diving directly into the whole campaign and everything, but I've got to say right now, if you're going over there and you're interested in the campaign and you're interested in the book and everything, you got to get the decals. I went ahead and opted for the decals on mine just because my fiance, she drives for DoorDasher. And I cannot wait for her to go door dashing and have those decals in the window. I cannot wait to see people's faces. I would love to be a fly on the wall to see that, if they see that on there and they know it's DoorDash as well. It would be awesome to see that. It looks like it's corporate style. It doesn't look like it's comic style. It's got a very cool feel to it.
Well, not to delve, like you said, too much into the Kickstarter itself. There's actually a tier where I presented it as if you were being a new driver. So you can get like the business, the Cerber shirt, you get the hand sanitizer, you get the air freshener, you get the driver logo sticker, all of that stuff. So I really wanted people to feel involved with what was going on, because with it originating as a creepypasta written by Mofucius on Reddit, the way that the story is written as if it's somebody's real experience. So like an unfiction, I guess you could call it. So I really wanted to make sure that people were able to jump in and be like, no, it's not just a comic book. I want to be part of this world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nice. I mean, and you definitely get that feel from there. Now, I'm going to say right now that if you're not familiar with iDrive for Cerber, of course, you can go check that out and everything. The links are embedded in the feeds, so it makes it very simple to get there. Please wait until the end of the show to go check it out, if you will, just so you'll get some more information, moving into there and everything. But whenever you do, you'll find out that this is not your normal clientele, that Cerber is going and picking up for. In fact, it's more along the lines of, this kind of clientele would actually kind of show up for iDrive for Cerber right there. I mean, that's something that would get picked up in the car and taken somewhere. And hopefully, you have a dustbuster to take care of all the hair in the back seat, but, or a lint brush, at least something. But this is Wolfsbane. This is actually Aaron's IP that's on here. And I wanted to kind of go into this one because Wolfsbane has a different feel to it than a normal werewolf book. I'm going to say from experience from me reading this thing, and I'm not going to give any spoilers because y'all got to read it. I'm not giving that away to you. But it has a detective comics feel to it with a paranormal element instead of being the other way around. Automatically, whenever you see a werewolf book, you're like, oh, it's a paranormal book. Well, this is a detective book with paranormal elements. I'm telling you right now, just expect that right now. It does not take away from it at all. In fact, it adds to the elements in there. And as you can see by some of the artwork, we're seeing on here from covers, and we're about to show some of the interiors on here. It's a gorgeously done book. The flow of this thing is awesome. The storyline is very gripping in there, and it actually lost me at one point, and that's a good thing to say, because anything that I can read that I have to go back going, wait a minute, where'd you lose me on this? I was reading this, I was keeping paying attention to it, and you lost me at some point. That's a good thing, because that means that you have some way to squeeze something in there that I wasn't paying attention to and change the story up a little bit. So kudos to you on that one, Aaron, for coming up with that kind of storyline.
Thank you.
Now, of course, this panel here, don't everybody get excited. This is not an NSFW style thing here. You think it's going to be all kinds of giggity here in a moment, but that's as giggity as it gets right there. Not giggity, we'll put it that way, just ungiggity. It's gorgeous. I mean, the artwork, the style, everything that's in there. There's a lot of different elements that are in here, and you can definitely tell on this one, especially the detective style that's inside of there, along with the paranormal, like I was talking about. And then, of course, I had to show this. That right there just screams the old style, of the monsters. It screams the old Frankenstein, the Wolfman, all of those like that. I love that it has that feel and that tempo to it and that heartbeat to the story from that particular cover right there. Aaron, how did you come up with a story like this where you actually delve more into the fact that it's a detective story and not just a paranormal?
So this is an interesting story. I actually got this idea from like a whole bunch of the old horror movies I used to watch as a kid, like Universal, Hammer, all that stuff. And I was thinking to myself as I was watching a werewolf movie, wouldn't it be cool if wouldn't it be cool if this was sort of like Casablanca or something like that? And one thing led to another. Wolfsbane was born, and I love it because you get to blend in two very, I would say like they're sort of different styles, but they all have that one similar thing in common, and that's suspense.
Yes,
it's so fun to toy around with.
And that right there, you saying that it's suspense instead of horror, I love that, because there's so much horror that's out there, but horror can be, especially gore is the main factor in horror nowadays, which it's gone so far that way that people have forgotten about the suspense and the, who done it and who's hiding behind the door and what's that creak that I hear in the wood behind me, that kind of thing. And you really have that feel in there with this book, and I really enjoy that was in there with it. Now this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is book 1 and 2.
Yes.
Okay.
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Now, are you looking to do more into the story, or does this complete the arc for it, or how is this working?
So, there's more planned, but we're living in the real world with the economy and everything, and I want to make sure that when I am able to do more, I can. Mm-hmm. So, I'm starting off at 6 right now.
Okay. But, so you definitely got a world that you're building over there with it, which is great to hear, because already it intrigues me enough with just the 2 books on there, and I'd really like to see more that's coming up on there. And trust me, we all understand the whole economy thing that's out there. If I can barely buy eggs, comics are a side note there right now.
Oh yeah.
Actually, if I could buy comics with eggs, may look into that one. Shaun, do you have a tier on there, or where I can actually buy them with eggs? You need to add that.
No. Shipping. I can't use media mail with that.
Do they have to be in the shells? That's the problem.
Just send them pre-scrambled, just like a square with their comic, its own sleeve.
Exactly. No, but I mean, we all understand, there's the economy thing that's on there, and it's good that you even mentioned that you have a plan in place that as long as you're getting the following and you get people who are interested in the story and everything, you'll keep going with the story. I love hearing that, because that's what the indies are all about, is putting that passion into your work and continuing on while everybody's excited about it and keeping them excited about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
So that is definitely something we're looking forward to. And I'm going to tell everybody right now, something else that y'all need to get excited about. There's been other works that have been done. We'll talk about some of the past things that are on there, but Timothy, I'm going to put you in the hot seat on this one right now because we're going to talk about Call of the Cryptids right there.
I'm ready, brother. I'm ready.
I mean, just the name alone. I don't know much else about this thing except for the name because, Timothy's kind of treating me like he does with, most of the other people with the commercial that gives you a little spot thing on there and is like, you got to check this out. If you want to know more, you have to check it out. And I'm kind of like, but I'm the host. I should know more. So now I'm like, okay, I got to back this thing. I don't know what it is, but I got to have it. So how do you come up with the idea for it? And what is the premise that you can tell us about it?
Well, I've been a cryptid fan almost my entire life, and I've read just about every book about cryptids and UFOs and paranormal situations that's ever been released. And it's been a dream of mine to one day write my own story that would incorporate the elements of the cryptids. And in this case, we have done that. And this is sort of like a teen-friendly adventure. It's a sci-fi adventure, and it has a very, what I call a trippy visual style. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of inventive panel work. There's a lot of really wild colors. And what you see there, that's the cover by my partner, Erwin Arosa. We do a lot of work together. And he's also, in this case, doing the interiors for the book as well. Something we talked about the other night on on Travis's show was that sometimes, you buy a book and you see the cover and you think, hey man, that looks great. And then of course you open it up and it's a different artist inside.
Right.
And that's not something that's necessarily a bad thing. And of course I understand that variant covers are a very real reality for us as creators as well. And that's why in this case, I've done something a little bit different. And that, what I mean by that is this will have variant covers, but all of the artwork for this project will be designed by one man. And that is to give it a level of consistency. You can look at a cover, you can look at a variant cover, you can look at page 37, and they are all thematically intact.
Nice. That's I like the way that you have that set up, and I like the thought process on there. I am one of those personally that whenever I see something, especially that has the cover by the interior artist, and then maybe some other covers that are involved in there as well, I'll get two covers. I'll get one as a reader, and then one of the variants or whatever on there. Because just to bust this real quick, I just want to let everybody know. Let me see if I can find something that I can actually show real quick. But if you actually crack one of these open, there's more story and everything in there. Everything is bagged and boarded. I am so just in my zone right now. But if you crack one of these open, there's more story, more art, everything in there. So don't think that you get one of these just for the cover. There's more in there. But if you want to preserve something and get something that may be harder to find or something, the variants, that's a good way of doing that. Just make sure you get a reader because you want to be able to enjoy this as well. And that looks like an awesome series that's going to be coming out with that. And we've got Kyron showed up. That's Shaun Barbour. I know him. Kyron, I think you do. I thought I saw you on a commercial with him at some point. I could have sworn I did. So Kyron is just as famous as you are right now, Shaun. I mean, we're going to get into that as well. But Call of the Cryptid sounds like it's going to be a very interesting setup on there, and especially the sci-fi element that's added to it. So again, it's not the normal cookie cutter style. That's what I love about my three guests that are here tonight is the cookie cutter style doesn't fit with the projects that y'all are working on. You're thinking outside of the box, and that's awesome because we need more of the inventive ways of thinking out there instead of just, I've seen it before, let's redo it, but redo it my way.
True.
Yeah.
True.
That's one of the freedoms that we get as indie creators is that our confinement only is made or built by ourselves.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I would like to add to it in the sense that, I think all of us as indie creators, we struggle with the hardest part, let's be honest, is to find our audience, right? And we're always trying to find ways to create what I call meaningful engagement. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to do, man. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of there's a lot of great training programs online and a lot of great things about how to make comics and the realities of publishing. And they all tend to say things like, well, you want to figure out who your audience is, and then you want to kind of tailor the product to the audience. And speaking directly for myself, that isn't the way that I do it. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I make something that I want to see, and then I hope that the audience will dig it. And, the truth is, and I think that's probably true of the other creators in this room as well, because none of the projects that we're talking here tonight are essentially, they're all kind of innovative. They're not really, like you said, cookie cutter projects. Right. I mean, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with it anybody's doing. So, like I say, other creators might have their own thing. Hey, I'm going to write a story that appeals to this group. And that's great, man. Go for it. But I think that we're going to do a lot better if we try and remain true to ourselves. And, my biggest category is returning backers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking directly, a lot of the categories that some people clean up in, I don't do too well in those categories. I don't have any heroes in my book. There's nobody has any powers, anything like that. I mean, I'm very sci-fi. I got tons of robots and cybernetic this and that and paranormal, these kind of things. Yeah, there's a good one.
Yeah, and that's the perfect segue to go into talking about what you have been working on, because Water Wars has really taken up. I mean, it's starting to get some traction on there.
Right. Thank you for saying. I'm very fortunate. And once again, I want to say thank you to the indie community, to the indie creators, and to our backers. If you would have told me 3 years ago that this is what would happen, I wouldn't have believed it. Like I say, we just made the one book. And what is different about this series, of course, the Water Wars series, you can buy just one book, and it is a short story, and sometimes two stories in the book. You do not have to read 1, 2, 3, 4 for it to make sense. Each one is self-contained. It's a little bit along the lines of something like The Twilight Zone or Night Gallery. They're episodes, but they do all feature these characters. And if you like this kind of thing, they are all connected. Like you can say, say you're looking right there, that's our two characters, Phaedra and the girl with no name. And you can say, well, wait, why does she only have one arm? It kind of doesn't matter. You can read the story, and the story is not about that. But if you want to, go back. It explains in number 2 why she has one arm. So some people really like to collect things, and they want to get the whole set. But some people, when they buy a comic, they want the story in there. So, we take a lot of pride in the fact that, you don't necessarily have to. You wouldn't have to buy the catch-up tier if you didn't want to. You could buy just one issue and say, hey, this is a pretty cool story in here. Now, the reason why I say this new one is a little different for me, this is the first time where I have written something that is a 4-issue arc. It is designed to be, it's 96 pages is what it is. Nice. But we're going to release it episodically, episode 1. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because episode 1, if you're a fan of things like Walking Dead or Saga, they end on what I call a cliffhanger, right? That last page is always, wait, what? And then you got to get number 2. In the past, I have not done this. It's been the ending of a story. And as you know, the Water Wars stories is a little twist ending in each one. It's always not what you think it was going to be. That's what we try to do. But in this one, it is what I call a full-on cliffhanger, and it's always something weird. Like are any of you guys fans of a book called Saga by Brian K. Vaughan?
I've heard of it.
Oh,
okay, yeah. If you dig Saga, you'd probably like Call of the Cryptid. And I love to use this for the example. We talked about this over on Holden's 11, which is my YouTube channel. When you first read Brian K. Vaughan, and he's a very well-regarded writer, and he's got all these great titles. I'm a big fan of his. But when you read Saga, it's really odd, right? Like it starts out with there's this intergalactic war, and the girl with the horns, and the one guy, she's got wings, and they're having a baby, and there's a cat that can talk, and there's a guy with a TV for a head. And you go, wait a second, this doesn't even make sense, right? When you read it. And then you read number 2, and you go, where is he going with this? The characters it doesn't make any sense at all. And then you get to number 6, and you go, oh my God, what happens next? I got to get the next one. Like you get really attached, and you have to kind of lean into the weirdness, right? And I think that readers like weirdness if it's presented the right way.
Oh, absolutely. And it definitely has that feel, where it actually has the weirdness in there that it hooks you without you knowing you're being hooked. That's what's great about it, is it's one of those very subtle hooks that's on there where you start reading and you're invested now. You're no longer going, this is just something I want to do just because I'm trying to, stay awake for the rest of the night or something like that and read something. It's now where, like, instead of having an escape from reality, you're escaping from reality to this location. You're not going just anywhere in particular. You're going to this one because you choose this location. And that's very cool that you were able to set up that world and go with that, because it definitely has a feel of, I want to escape over there and see what's going on and see if we can go ahead and beat certain people that are, on this thing right now. Or, at the last book that was on there, I was reading, there was things that were going on, and the bad guy was about to go ahead and unleash this ultimate weapon or whatever. And, it just wasn't going to happen, or maybe they did or they didn't. You kind of left it, as a questionable on there. Those are the kind of things that subliminally we look at and we go, I think I'll get the next one. And in the back of our mind, we're going, yeah, you're getting the next one.
Well, and like I say, in our case, like you talked about the Water Wars world, it's very connected by the lore.
Yes.
And, they all come with maps, so you can see where the people went, and it kind of explains what each person did. And the groups are all fighting each other. Like, it isn't really too apparent who the good guys are necessarily. And generally speaking, it always ends with it's not who you thought it was. It's a good guy at the issue. And as I like to say, the stories it's almost a little bit about the world more than the characters. The only connecting element of Water Wars 2288 is the world that they all live in. And what I use as an example, and I told you I'm a comic book collector, right? I guess are any of you guys comic book collectors?
Oh yeah,
I try.
Okay, and I've been that way for a long time. And I'll just make a general statement, which what used to be cool about the Marvel universe, and so this has changed a little bit, and I'll save that for a future show. But what I used to like about the Marvel universe was that they had this, what I thought was the best interconnected universe. And in many cases, you could pick up a book and say you're reading Spider-Man. Well, you had a damn good chance you're going to see Daredevil come rolling through. And they might even end up in a fight against the Fantastic Four. Like, they all knew each other and they would cross paths. And if you like that kind of thing, you would like Water Wars 2288, because if you're following the series, people always say the same thing. They're like, oh, so that's the girl with, yeah, man, that's her. Oh, so that's why the water isn't. Yeah, that's why. Like, you don't need to know it, but if you keep going, it is all explained.
Nice.
Now, you mentioned earlier about, with the maps of the world and everything, and you mentioned about maps, and immediately I went to, wait a minute, I know something else that uses maps around here. What else uses maps on here? Well, I drive for Cerber.
Nice.
See, awesome. That's the segue right there. I'm telling you. This book is, I don't even know where to go on this. Shaun, you're going to have to help me out on this, because I don't know enough about it. I know enough that you've allowed everyone else to see on here. I've seen as much as pretty much everyone else has. Maybe just a hair more, but not much.
Sure.
This is something that you got from, this is an idea from someone else that you ran with. How did you get a hold of this?
My oldest son was really into creepypastas and spooky stories and stuff. And so in an effort for me to stay connected to my kids, I got invested in this creepypasta community. And one of the stories I came across was I Drive for Cerber, and it was written by somebody named Mofucius. Now, that was a pen name. And so when I read the story, I really liked the way it was laid out. I really liked that it fit in my head as if it was a comic book. So I did some research and was able to track backwards to the writer. And I reached out, and they were ever so gracious and generous in letting me turn their story into a comic book. And as it turns out, now both Kyron, the penciler of the book, Mofucius, and myself are all within the same hour drive of each other.
Nice.
So not only did I contact the creator of the story, and now I live within arm's reach, so we can all attend the same type of events. So it was really a stroke of luck that this worked out so well.
That is awesome. And I'm showing some of the images behind as well while we're going through this.
Yeah.
This character is Ray, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Absolutely. Ray, if you notice underneath that little hoodie there might be a familiar little suit that somebody without a face by the name of Slender Man, maybe.
Yep.
I went ahead early on, and I love the fact that was an incorporated character, but not directly. So it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
And it is. I mean, it's a very fun thing that's on there. And of course, transforming the way you think about transportation. I mean, these kind of things right here, these elements that you added into this campaign to make it where it's no longer a campaign, it's a job interview. This is exactly what it's set up as. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this campaign actually shows up on Indeed somehow, some way.
It's cool how it looks, and I mean this is the best compliment. It looks like a corporate ad. It's really well done.
Yes.
So, Shaun, did you make these, or Kyron makes those?
No, I did those. Yeah, nice. And it was funny because I've recently been flagged on, I think it was Instagram, on their reels because it looks like a real business.
Yeah.
That they're like, we need, verification that this is a real thing. So I had to send them the link to show them. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, and this was my take on that one. Was Jekyll and Hyde. So each one kind of thematically reaches back into horror or cryptids or creepypasta characters, different stuff like that. So
Very cool.
I love that.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
And by the way, Aaron was not the model we used, but he may be a good stunt double for a live action rendition of the story.
Shoot, dude, hit me up. I've done a little acting in my day.
I mean, as fast as Shaun, churns out these commercials and everything, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Aaron in one of those here very shortly. That would be awesome. Now, I mean, it's a very fun looking story that's on here, and it looks like it's just one of those real lighthearted. It's got the horror element to it, yes, but it's also got the fun element. It's not the gore or anything like that, of course. It's more of the, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going on. Because can you imagine in your place of, picking up somebody and it's someone of the paranormal, who are they? What race are they? What are they going to do in the back seat? Are they, going to try to melt me? Are they going to try to bite me? Are they going to try to, whatever's going to happen? And then to find out that they actually pay for things whenever they're done. Humans don't do that.
It's one of the cool things that I liked about it is that when you read through the story and stuff, you'll find out that the amount that Jim is getting paid for his rides is directly correlated to how dangerous they are.
Oh.
So the more dangerous they are, the more money he makes, and obviously he's in it for the money. But there are some elements of mystery and murder, a little bit of mayhem that kind of ensues. So yeah, so if you know me from Belial and it being straight comedy, this one is going to be more horror comedy.
Right.
So think of the attitude that you would get from the American Werewolf in Paris, the second one, or Idle Hands or something like that. Yes. So horror elements with comedy mixed in there. And it's usually because he bites off more than he can chew with his mouth.
Exactly. Now, this is something that you're going to be continuing as a regular series, or what are we looking at on this one?
Now, on the license plate there, it's saying that it's part 1 of 2. Okay. And that's just because this story arc has 2 parts. And I wanted to make sure I was giving people a comprehensive chunk of the story.
Okay.
And if it does well, I'm actually, I've talked to the writer, and they are actually interested in writing more stories for it so that we can turn directly into comic book format. So everybody's been awesome, and I will definitely make efforts to keep the team that have been established for issue number 1 together as it moves forward.
Oh, that is awesome.
Nice, man.
And how long ago was it that Mofucius actually ran with this the first time around?
As far as like the original installments of the story,
correct.
It's been around for a little bit. In fact, before myself, there were multiple parts. This comic book is part 1 through 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next issue would be parts 5 through 10. And there's actually I think there's 14, 15 different installments of it. But by the time I came around, it already had a popular community, including a gentleman by the name of Nature's Temper, which is here on YouTube, who did a full narration of the story that's going to be incorporated into the comic book. So to kind of pay homage to the roots and everything where it started and the people that have been involved before I have, I made what I call the scenic route tier, which is the comic book, but I've stripped it of all of the word balloons.
Yes.
And you'll get the audio from the original prose version of the story that you can follow along with the digital version of the comic book. Yes. So I believe in giving people the credit where credit is due. Now, if it didn't start with me, the people that started it need that that recognition. And I want to make sure that goes back to everybody as much as possible, because if you know me, I'm all about the community.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And that right there is an awesome interactive idea to come up with. You're no longer just reading the word balloons. Now you're hearing it as you're going through with the pages on there. And it's almost going to get to the point where instead of hearing the voice that's going on there, it just kind of gets the tempo going. You start making it up as you go. You can read off of the pages through the art and kind of figure it out yourself. You're fully immersed in what's going on at that point.
Absolutely. And like I said, that was one of the biggest things for me, is that reading the story kind of pulled me in, and I wanted other people to feel pulled in and to be part of that story, to be like, hey, I think I would do this, or no, never in a million years. This sounds way too much for me. I'm happy with my desk job.
There you go. See, the next thing that's going to happen, we're going to see Tim actually introduce VR to Water Wars. We're going to see that coming up on one of these campaigns.
I did have a guy reach out to me about, and by the way, I'm a writer by trade. Like I say, the publishing stuff happened to me kind of accidentally, right? I didn't know anything about that. And it's like all things, you start to do it and you start getting a little bit better and better. And how do I want to say this? Like if we were golfers, I'm not a golfer. Or anybody in this room golfers?
No.
I do enjoy the sport.
Okay, gotcha. Well, Aaron, this one is for you then, buddy. You probably know it better than me. But if we were golfers and we started playing golf every day, but you get in a tournament and then a second one and then a third one, and I'm up to my 10th tournament, I'd be a pretty gosh darn good golfer by that time. So, like I say, the bar is now kind of high. Like I feel with all the stuff I'm making, I better put out some quality material. People are expecting me to be a good golfer now.
Yeah.
So what we have been trying to do is, I told you, it's a little outfit here in York, Pennsylvania. It's called Earth Dog Studios. And what we do is every time one is successful, we try and double down. So the Call of the Cryptid book is this trippy sci-fi visual adventure. Our next step after that, and it's already written, is a bone dry Western. And when I say bone dry, there's no powers, there's no aliens, there's no robots. All my projects are what I call framed, as if something else. It's framed along the lines of the movie Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. If you like that, you'll probably like our next one. And that one's called Remember to Dig Two Graves. And that'll be coming to Kickstarter.
That's a great title, man.
Yeah, thanks. It's from a Chinese saying, actually, and it says, when you seek revenge, remember to dig two graves. And the idea, if you're trying to do violence, it's going to turn around on you.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be our next one.
Awesome. Now I'm going to go ahead. I want to go ahead and bring up something real quick, because I don't want to run out of time. I want to make sure I have enough time to do this. But Tim, I want to go ahead and kind of give you kudos on something, because you have a show over there. You mentioned it earlier about Holden's
11. Yeah.
Go ahead and let them know what goes on over there, so they kind of know what to expect, because myself and Shaun have been co-host over there.
Right. Thank you for bringing it up. Shaun is actually next on the docket here. I'm really looking forward to it. And Aaron, I'm going to invite you too. Sure. Basically what we do is, and kind of got the idea from Phil a little bit, to be honest with you, was I was saying earlier, it's difficult for us as creators to reach our audience and to create engagement with who our customers are going to be. And I was kind of doing something wrong. And what I was doing, I go on a lot of podcasts. Sometimes when I have an active Kickstarter campaign, it's, for Lost at Sea, I think I did 31 podcasts, right? And what I found is that I was starting to be only a fella who was saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. And of course, I do want people to buy my stuff, so I came by it honestly. But I felt like, the indie community has been really good to me, so I wanted to try and give a little something back. And what we tried to do and are having some success with, it's a little bit, it's not too different from what Phil is. It's an interview show, but it's set up with content. And what I mean by content, we find subjects that nerds might like, and then we sort of talk about them, and people can leave their comments and agree or disagree. And at the end, then it's kind of a segue. Hey, if you like this kind of material, you'd probably like this book. Because what the hope is that if somebody's watching it that far, they probably would like your book, if somebody, right? And perhaps surprisingly, or at least it was surprising to me, because speaking directly, I never had too much experience hosting a show and not even really too much knowledge about how to do one, but I have written for a couple of websites and things like this. Like I say, I've got some writing experience, but it was the top 11. And there are things like top 11 sci-fi movies, top 11 fight scenes. I got a cool one coming up, the top 11 cryptid encounters with my buddy Shaun. We're really looking forward to that.
That's right.
And then I got creator SK coming up. He's doing the top 11 fictional worlds.
Nice.
Like I say, there's some really good subjects, and the idea is that it's fun to talk about.
Yeah.
And then what happens? I've either got one person watching them over and over, or it's actually growing. It does seem like it's growing.
Mhm.
And I'm as surprised as you. Really, what I'm trying to do is to reach out to more customers, more so than other creators. Not
Right.
that there's anything wrong with other creators. We all love each other, right? Hey,
Right.
it's
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
good. It's all good. But what I say to people when they come on the show is, if you got, man, I can pretty much guarantee you'll get 5 or 10 customers out of it, because my people are not really all other creators watching the show. And we've had some very high performing videos to a level that surprises even me. So, and I think that part of that is, whenever you make a list of something, people either want to see if they agree with you, or perhaps more importantly, they want to disagree with you.
Right.
True.
And
So
it's interesting, because even being co-host on there were a couple of things that we didn't quite agree on, but it wasn't a disagreement. It was a discussion at that point. It was like, well, why do you think it's better on this list here? And why do you think it's not on this list, at this level? And it really gets into a discussion. It's great to go ahead and have those debates like that, because they're positive debates. They're not the negative connotation.
Yeah. And by the way, and I'll use Phil as the example, because it came out great. And the thing that's fun is, when you interview other creators, what I learned is they have tons of stuff that's even better than what I came up with. So, I mean, Phil had to come like, man, he's right. This has got to be on the list. And we change it around at the last minute, kind of change it on the fly. But because sometimes I make these lists and, let's be honest, we forget stuff. You know what I mean? We try to have a couple of old things, a couple of medium, and then a couple that are sort of new. And the idea is that it can reach, an older person, a younger person, somebody that likes movies, somebody that likes music. One of our best performing ones was the top 11 movie theme songs. And it's like the theme from Rocky and Indiana Jones and stuff like that. Because we're musicians too, we're all songwriters over here. But it's something, it's funny, because honestly, you forget some of the good ones. And, sometimes the guest will bring it up and I go, oh man, you're right. I got to change this around, man. And by the way, Shaun had one I don't mind mentioning. I had forgotten Slender Man, which, how do you have a list and not have Slender Man on the list? So that's a good example, right? So by the way, if you can't tell, I'm really looking forward to talking to Shaun. His is up next. We've already written it, but I got Phil's it'll be Thursday night. I'm rendering it tonight. It's got the graphics and everything.
Awesome.
I absolutely love being on there, and love being, invited to your show on there. If anyone out there that's watching this now or watching this later on would like to be a guest on there, simply reach out to Tim and ask him what he's got available and what his timeframes are. I'm sure he would have no problem, with giving some people some chances out there and letting them jump on.
Absolutely.
He's very easygoing with the material. Usually gives you like 2 or 3 choices of stuff. If it's something that you're not that familiar with, don't feel bad, because there are certain things you'll go through and you'll just say, I don't know that one, but we'll just, I'll talk about what I know from what I researched whenever you sent me the stuff, because he'll send you research material too.
And it's kind of, it goes with something Phil said too. And I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, because we're kind of similar in this regard. A lot of times people will say to you things like, man, you got to bring up the negative ones. And, you got to rag on a couple of these music or movie, whatever it is. But I would say, no, ours is like, it's the things that we love. And we're like, getting revved up about it. Like, we're kind of, if Phil's very positive and he puts out positivity. And my personal belief is, if positivity is what you're putting out, that's what you're going to get back. So we don't do this is the worst Marvel movie and I hate that they changed this character. The internet has enough of that. That's one man's opinion, but it's all about, hey, I love this one because it's like that.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, you've got enough, holding things that we can come up with just off of Marvel and DC. So that's a whole nother thing we'll leave on your side over here.
We got some great creators coming up too. I'm getting some decent people. I got Shaun coming up. I got Greg Moken coming up. I got Madeline Holly Rosen coming up. There's some good ones on the docket here. And by the way, if you don't have something to promote, that's okay too. It's just like, it's kind of like just 2 people talking and having a good time. So it's something for the viewers.
That's
And
the best.
if I can do anything, man, to support other indie creators, I'm trying to do it more now, because people were nice to me when I started, and I don't, guys, I don't have a big following like you see, like some of these guys. I got a couple hundred people, and I'm not one of the big shots, I guess you'd call it. But the level of positivity that I'm getting back, I gotta say thank you. And if I can help in some small way, you can count on me. I'll try and help your project.
And
it's
that right
everything.
there is what makes it different. It doesn't matter the numbers that you have. It's the pure creator. It's the fact that you're actually doing this for a reason, and it's for a good reason. You're not trying to go ahead and buy the mansion, that you've always dreamt of,
Right.
type thing. You're not trying to buy a brand new car just because you're doing this and you don't want to give back to the community. You want to give back to the community. That's the whole point of you doing this. And that's the best way to be doing, all of this that's out there.
Yeah.
Now, granted, whenever you're making money and everything, it can't be directly back into the next project and so on and so forth, because some of us like to eat every once in a while.
True.
Right.
Shaun can't live on just, devil's toe alone, because, the last one almost killed him. So we're not doing that.
It's true.
But, and if you don't know what devil's toe is, don't look it up on the internet right now. I'm telling you. But it definitely is something that you've got to look at, that you've got to have something in this world that you can live off of, but then give back at the same time. It can't be where you're just simply hoarding everything that comes your way. You've got to be able to give back somehow, some way. If I could give the shirt off my back to anyone that needs it, everybody right here knows that I will definitely do that, because I believe in this industry as much as I do. Now, have I seen the darker side of this industry as well? Oh, absolutely. And it surprised the hell out of me whenever I saw it, because, whenever you first see behind the curtain, it's all rainbows and unicorns. And then all of a sudden rainbows and unicorns start fighting, and unicorns start eating the rainbows and doing all kinds of other things. And it's nasty. And you decide that you can either fight against it and show it off to everyone else, or you can go, nope, change the channel. I changed the channel. That's the easiest way to do it. And the other easiest way to do it is promote more of the positive on top of it. Nobody remembers that the unicorn was, eating the rainbow. Now they remember that there was a certain, server driver that picked up a shady character who paid him, a tip at the very end, and where his life was on the line and he never even knew it, or may not have been. You're gonna have to watch and see, because we don't even know what happens, because this is only part 1. So these are things that you need to look at, is what positivity you're putting out there. And that will definitely tie into my closing statement that we're going to get to here very shortly, because I could keep these guys up here all night long. We're not going to do that. I don't set up cots out here for everybody to keep watching the show all night long. We may start doing that in the future, but probably not. I'm about to go ahead and give each one of them full screen so they can let you know why you need to go ahead and go over there and click these links that are in the feeds, and go ahead and get over there and support any way you can. Now, before I give them full screen, remember what support is. Not everybody can support financially, because not everybody's just able to do that. But hashtag power of the finger. Yes, I hashtagged it. You are absolutely right. The correct one, if you can. Hit that share button and get this shared out. Is all you have to do is share out their campaigns, share out, podcasts like this, share out their posts that are out there. It costs you absolutely nothing. Very little time at that, to go ahead and get those shares, because you never know who it's going to land in front of that would be able to financially support and move forward with this. And it keeps them being creative, and that creation doesn't stop at that point. In fact, it fuels them even more whenever they start seeing more of that tempo going along there. So hashtag power of the finger. And as we go with that, I'm going to go ahead and move this finger right over here. Oh, you like that segue too? He's going right over here.
Nice.
And he's going to go full screen right now.
Oh, hey. So pretty much, if you love horror, if you love this book's just not about that. It's about giving somebody like a story that they want to treasure and hold on to. Wolfsbane was written with a lot of love, and I just want to make sure that people could, have a book that they really enjoy. So I love you guys. Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh no, you're good. I mean, that's definitely, that says a lot right there, because the passion that you put in there, you're giving back. And that's what you're telling everybody right there, is that this book has that love in it of what you've been doing and everything. And that's why you should go over there and support this thing. And like I said, the links are in the feed, so they're very easy to get to. Timothy, I'm going to give you full screen. Go ahead and let them know why they need to get over there and see what you're doing and keep track because, oh, look, I'm getting used to it now. There we go. Right
We're
down
like
there.
the Brady Bunch with the
There you
six.
go. And let them know why they need to keep an eye on you and let us know when we're going to be looking forward to seeing Call of the Cryptids.
Okay, guys, we're going to be launching Call of the Cryptid on March 15th. If you like inventive visual sci-fi, I recommend that you check this product out. I think you will dig it. And I just want to say thanks to Phil. I'm grateful for your support of the indie community. It's nice to meet Aaron. I think your book looks great. I particularly like that black and white universal style cover. I want to say thanks to Shaun. He's my new buddy. I think you should support iDrive for Cerber. In his case, I particularly like the corporate style logos and advertisements. I think that's a terrific touch. And I just want to say thank you, everybody, for your support. I'm grateful.
Excellent. Now, of course, we got to go ahead and let Shaun have his screen right now. He's right down here. See, I know where to point. Ha ha ha. We're going to give him full screen. He's going to let you know why you need to go ahead and put your application in for iDrive for Cerber.
All right. So if you're a fan of horror, but you also have a sense of humor, if you like cryptids and creepy creatures, but you also like a little bit of heartfelt story, then iDrive for Cerber is going to be for you. It is like Uber for the paranormal. And a quick share is very important to everybody because our reach only goes so far. You guys, even just one share helps reach an extra 100 people. So we appreciate everything that you guys can do. Help support these guys as well as myself and also Phil. Come on.
Hey, I certainly appreciate it. Gentlemen, I certainly appreciate and am honored to have y'all on the show tonight and be able to interview y'all with all of this. I am looking forward to seeing what all else y'all have coming in the future. I'm looking forward to more Wolfsbane. We're going to get that thing funded for you. We're going to get the word out there and get as many shares as we possibly can. Shaun, again, congratulations on funding right before the show. My original thing was I would have loved to have seen it fund during the show because I had it up and I was watching it. And then you mentioned it and I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to let you steal that thunder from me because at least you got it funded. I'm good with that. We're going to let you run with that one. But, it's great to be able to see the success stories that are out there. And it's always about the success that you do within that. And of course, Tim, we're looking forward to next month you launching yours. I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that one, and we will be sharing that one out as well.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and put y'all backstage. If y'all want to hang out for just a moment and do my closing statement, and I'll be out there very shortly to talk with y'all.
Thanks, Phil.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we had a hell of a show tonight. We had a great group of guests on here, great panel show. And this is the kind of thing that I'm trying to get with that feel for it for the hell of a show. With the way that we had our guest on here and we were able to interact back and forth. And it wasn't just a 2 a.m. infomercial. It wasn't simply a $, $. It was talking about the human element that's involved in all this. Now, everybody knows that if you've been watching this recently that I have changed up the way that I'm doing my closing statements. It's no longer geared toward the show itself or a particular guest or anything. It's the same closing statement, but I'm going to go ahead and put it every single time because it's important. I have one hashtag, which is Power of the Finger. Y'all already know about that one. Already been over that one. You understand that one. If you don't, reach out to me and I will definitely go over it with you in great detail if need be. I'll even use the correct finger if I have to. But the other hashtag that I want to use is Voice of the Indies. The reason I have decided to use this one is simply because some other people had deemed me as the voice of the Indies. Now, at first, I was honored. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool that I'm getting deemed, this title type thing. But I'm going to tell you right now, Voice of the Indies is not a person. It's an element. It's a group. It's a segment of people that are there. Voice of the Indies is you. What that means is, how are you going to go ahead and increase that Voice of the Indies? That is my challenge to everybody at the end of every single show is how are you going to increase that Voice of the Indies? Now, this is not saying that you have to go break the bank and go, back every single campaign that's out there that I have, people on the show or anything like that. If you're able to, great. If you're not, that's fine too. But this ties directly into that Power of the Finger hashtag. It's as simple as that. Or go a little step further. Reach out to these creators. Hey, Tim, I really like what I saw on the show tonight with, Call of the Cryptids coming out. I'm looking forward to that. Can you keep me posted and let me know when that's coming out? Shoot him a message. Hey, Tim, I really enjoyed, Water Wars being shown on there. I don't know enough about that. Can I look into that? Hey, Aaron, really a werewolf comic that has detective elements in there that actually overshadow it? That's awesome. A quick thing like that actually builds them up more than you can ever imagine and keeps them being creative to the nth degree. So I'm going to challenge everyone right now. What have you done to go ahead and increase the voice of the indies? That is an every week thing that is on there. It's not where anybody's going to be, I'm not going to put anybody on trial for not doing anything, but it's something you can really kind of think about in the back of your head going, what have I done? Simply, use some shares, put out some comments, maybe do a post if you can. Whatever you got to do to increase the voice of the indies, more people that do that, the bigger the spotlight is going to be on the indies themselves, not just on one person alone. So that being said, that's why we're here. That's why we have this show. That's why I do what I do and why I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm going to increase the voice of the indies the best way that I possibly can. I can't draw a stick figure to save my life, so I'm up here with a face that should be on radio doing these shows, and I'm going to continue doing so because this is what I have to offer the community. And I love doing what I'm doing, and I hope that y'all enjoy it as well. And I always enjoy this part of the show probably the best because it always ties into exactly what I started the show for, and it's this right here. Keep it indie, y'all.